Hello, everyone. I am Claudiu Murgan, the host of the Holistic Wellness, Purifying the Body and Clearing the Mind virtual conference. Thank you for joining us for a new episode. My guest is Monica Kapur. Monica, thank you for accepting the invitation.
Thank you so much for having me. So nice to be here. Thank you.
It's been a while since we last talked. You were my guest on Spiritual Inspire podcast, and we had a fascinating discussion about your spiritual journey and how you step onto this amazing path. So for those who didn't have the chance to watch that interview, please, if you can condense your journey a little bit, and then we'll go into more of what you are doing and how you can practically help people with, what I just mentioned, purifying the body and clearing the mind.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, I wrote a whole book about it. So how much would you like me to condense it? How much time do we have?
Just say exactly what was the impact and what triggered you to really understand that your purpose is different in this lifetime, and how you come about it.
Well, I'll start with my journey, what I call my awakening to divine love. So yeah, like I said, it's I've written a whole book about it, but I'll try to summarize it here. On March 5th, 2008, I had a glimpse of Lord Shiva, a glimpse of the divine in my husband. And it was on the special day of Shivratri, which is the special worship day of Lord Shiva. And when I looked at him, it was just a glimpse in our sense of time, perhaps just a few seconds, but it felt like eternity in that moment. And it was like as if I was looking at him for the very first time. And it was actually like falling in love with him again in a spirit, like it was like a spiritual love story, almost like at the beginning of our spiritual love story, right? We had been married for years, just had our second daughter at the time. But it was just a different type of love. It was like a divine love where I just wanted to fall at his feet and just worship him like you would worship God. And I saw the divine in him, which we all have within us. But the veil was lifted, so I could see who he really was, and also know who I really am and who we all are. We're all gods and goddesses, and I was just rejoicing in this experience for days, for months, years, and here I am still rejoicing. I mean, it changed my life completely. It was like a complete transformation. I had a sudden fulfillment of all of my desires, like all of the desires that would keep me up at night, and that there's that restlessness, and we all have endless desires as human beings, but it was almost like in that glimpse everything was I just felt so peaceful, so calm, so content, and there was nothing I could ask for. I just wanted to be in that moment forever. It was like I just wanted to stay there, and I just could have stayed there. So so that was the first glimpse, and a few months later, it happened again. But this time it was a few hours in our sense of time. So, I mean, I was in a completely different dimension. I was free from all the burdens of the world. Everything was lifted. I felt like a child, crawling on the ground, dancing, singing, just so free, how children are. And it was just such a beautiful dimension. It was hard to come back when I did come back eventually. And my husband was witnessing this, right? And he was just utterly confused as to what's happening to me. But he was very, very patient, very calm, and he knew that I was on this new journey, and he's very supportive. Which I'm very thankful for, because it must have been very confusing and overwhelming for him, as it was for me too, because I was in this whole new world. So in those few hours, I felt like I was in heaven. I felt like this is heaven where we are here and now. It's heaven. Is, you know, not a place we go to after death. It's right here. We can experience it every moment in everything we do. So which is why I was rejoicing, and just is a complete sense of freedom and liberation in those few hours. So yeah, so I want to talk about just what was happening as well. And during that time is that there was a lot of forgiveness, forgiveness of self, you know, forgiving others who'd hurt me, and just forgiving myself if I had hurt anyone. So it was just like a lot of letting go, a lot of releasing of emotions, like repressed emotions and negative emotions. So yeah, so this is my first book, Taste of Heaven: An Awakening to Divine Love, which was I can't, like, it was, you know, almost like channeled. This book was just written in the early hours of the morning, and it was just a beautiful process putting it together and writing about my experiences and what those meant to me, and just wanted to share it with the world. This was the most beautiful experience for me.
Yes, very quite a moving story, and I think we all start in life being married, and attracted. Maybe 99% of us by, it's a physical attraction and some,
Yeah.
how do you call it? Compatibilities in our lives, and over time, after 10, 15 years,
Yeah.
maybe people will grow apart and they are looking for something else. And it will be beautiful and amazing to have this type of experience where the physicality turns into spirituality, a spiritual relationship that can continue till the end of our lives with the same person. And
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, Parvati is Shiva's consort. So did you feel like Parvati in this particular situation?
I did. I did. And I actually I actually did. And I asked for my husband to marry me all over again in front of our temple, with just the two of us. And it was so dreamlike. And I put on these bracelets that I kept these bracelets from our wedding, and I put those on. And I actually felt like we were being married, we were just getting married again. It was like a new beginning for us, it's a new beginning for me for sure. And of course in our relationship, because I was changing and I was evolving and I was awakening. So it was definitely, it was a new beginning. And I did feel like a goddess. Um I still do. I still do. And it's a beautiful feeling. And I really do truly wish this upon everyone, every woman, every man, just this taste, his taste of heaven, which I call,
Yes.
with the name of my book. So that's what
Yeah.
it truly was.
This
And
is our
I
purpose. Yeah. That's why we
yeah.
came here.
Yeah. And I joke with my husband. I said, well, lucky I didn't see Shiva in the mailman. Lucky, lucky it was you. I just tease him every now and then because
Yes.
it's just like, it's like that. It's such a deep sense of like divine love, right? Which is like out of this world. It's like nothing I had experienced until that moment. So,
Yes. You have to keep him grounded. Okay.
yeah.
So I assume that this experience gave you a voice, gave yourself a voice, and you know exactly what your purpose is now, how you can help others.
Yeah.
And you mentioned self-forgiveness, and maybe this is one of the talking points when you go and speak in front of others. So let's touch a little bit more on how important is self-forgiveness and self-love.
Mhm. So it's interesting you brought that up, because this is what my second book is all about. It's called From Fear to Love: A Shift in Perception. And this book is based on A Course in Miracles. I'm sure you're familiar
Yes.
with that text, which I studied like a Bible for many years. And so I so my second book is all about our emotions and how our our thoughts affect our emotions. So by being conscious and aware of our thoughts, uh, we can change our thoughts and thus change how we feel and change our emotions. So I wrote this book is because after those experiences that I had, the spiritual experiences, I started to feel a lot of fear and anxiety. This is now a couple years later. So I started to feel a lot of repressed emotions, fear, anxiety, and it was like a daily. It was every night, every evening. I just would notice when I was washing my face, perhaps. And it was really quiet, and I was just with myself. And when I put my children to sleep, and I couldn't figure out what this was. So I started to heal myself and to read, to research, to learn about what this was all about. And I realized it was from my own past traumas from childhood that were coming to the surface. Like these repressed emotions they're coming to the surface to be cleared. So, there's a lot of situations where I had to forgive others and also forgive myself. And that's when we're truly free. And, as we forgive others, we forgive ourselves, right? We are also forgiven. So it's like it's just a beautiful connection there. And the importance of self-love is, I mean, it's absolutely essential. After my awakening, after all these beautiful experiences that I've had, I can't say I've really truly loved myself until that moment. And I wish this had happened to me like my adolescent years, or even like in my like just early 20s. But I was in my late 20s, early 30s when this happened. So I just it's the most beautiful feeling, and we can't truly love others until we love ourselves first, right? So it's like that. We're always looking for love outside of ourselves from others, perhaps in certain things that they say, do, and all these expectations, but we don't need any of that. If we look within and give ourselves that love, because it is inside of us, and it's just a matter of feeling it, quieting our mind and going deeper through meditation and other practices and just quiet moments. And it's like this, there's so much, like, it's that intensity of it. It's just so deep. And once we feel that for ourselves, we cannot be anything but loving to others. When we, like I often tell my children this, that, when you see someone who's angry or upset, or even like mean comments, right? In school, sometimes, some kids are mean to others, and it's like, why are they like this? Well, it's because they're hurting. Underneath that, there's anger is fear in disguise. There's something else that's going on, something that's unresolved. They're bothered. They're not peaceful. Obviously, someone who's peaceful and very loving won't be yelling at someone else and making, like, hurting someone else, name calling, and so forth. So it's really important to find that within ourselves. And it changes our whole life, because it changes how we speak to others, how we make others feel, which is very important to create a loving community and loving world.
Yes, I totally agree, Monica. And I want to go back to the period when you said that you were healing trauma. And for those who are listening,
Yeah.
they might ask themselves, why a light worker or someone who goes in front of other people talking about, self-love and healing still need healing? And I want to clarify that this is an ongoing process. And I recently discovered other guests I had on my podcast joining other type of communities, not their communities, but outside of their communities, with people who are even more evolved spiritually than themselves, because they have to go through this ongoing trauma healing process. And I am amazed and pleased to see that they are willing to improve themselves. And by doing that, they're offering even better services and better healing to their own clients.
It's a lifelong journey. It's really, it doesn't end. So I follow Satguru, and there's practices that I do every day, which has helped me so much. It's helped me further. Like, like I said, it's not like my journey ended in 2008. No, my journey began in 2008, and it will end until, well, it never ends, really, right? It continues. So there, yeah, so you're absolutely right. And that helps me help others, even more so, right? So, but it has to start with ourselves, right? We're always healing ourselves first. We always have to become a better version of ourselves again and again, and that doesn't end at any point in time. So,
Yes, and if we call ourselves vessels of God or vessels through which God will speak to others, and
mhm,
we have a chip or we have, broken pieces, we have to patch them back until that resonance is perfect. You see, like 432 hertz goes through us
yeah.
perfectly well with no pitch and discordance, and this is how we have to see ourselves, like a vessel which is in continuous improvement until it reaches that alignment and perfection with God.
Absolutely. 100%. Yes.
Monica, you also practice Reiki. What attracted you to this protocol?
So it's interesting. So I was shopping one day and I was having a beautiful conversation with this lovely woman. And and we must have been there like half an hour, 45 minutes, just speaking. And it was just all about like our spirituality and it's sharing some of my experiences with her. And at the end, I shook her hand and she just held my hand and she said, "You have Reiki hands." And I said, "Oh, what does that mean?" I mean, I was like pretty new on my journey. And she said, "Well, you're going to have to learn Reiki." And I just, right there, I just knew at that moment when she said that, and it just stayed with me. And so I did go on to learn it because I wanted to, it's energy healing, as you know, and I wanted to help people and I wanted to, but of course, like start with myself. So when I did learn Reiki, it helped me when we moved to the US for a couple of years. And I, with kids were really young and it was a stressful time, like new place, young kids, new doctors, new everything, right? So I was feeling anxious, overwhelmed. And thank goodness I learned Reiki because I was doing it every day. And I just felt a sense of calm and relaxation. It just really helped me get through each day. And, so yeah, I do offer Reiki services and I could do distance healing as well. So, so I've done this with clients during COVID. Where they could be all the way on the other side of the world, and I'm providing them healing, like energy healing, so that they become more calm and peaceful. And at that time, it was very important, especially during COVID with all the fear, all this fear thoughts and the number of people who passed. And it was just such a wonderful tool that I had, and that I could also do distance healing as well as in person.
And what is your process, and maybe what is the common denominator you address during these healing sessions?
It's uh it's a sense of peace and calmness, and for my clients to get back to themselves, to get back to the source of love that is within all of us. So that's the common denominator there. It's that's what my prayer for. That's what I focus my energy when working on clients.
And moving forward, what will be other tools you like to add to your toolbox of healing so you can help more and more people?
Mhm. I do coaching, and it's from fear to love based coaching. And so that's all about what I spoke about with my second book, with our thoughts and how our thoughts affect our emotions. So as we change our thoughts, our emotions change, and how the interconnection of the mind and the body. So I yeah, so that's another practice, another way, another tool, another way that I can help clients. And I've also, like, I have helped clients to shift their perception where, because we all have a conversation, like a 24-hour conversation, a dialogue that's running in the background. And until we quieter, until we become very quiet in terms of like just sit still and tune in and listen to that conversation, become conscious and present and listen in, we'll know the quality of our thoughts, and then we're able to change them. So the awareness is the first step to any positive change, right? So you have to become aware first that what is the quality of our thoughts. And when I did this with myself, when I started to, just to tune in, and I just like realized, I was like, wow, most of my thoughts are negative, actually. It's like, worrying about the future, or regrets about the past. So I'm just like going like, back and forth. And so yeah, so I do have like a 3-step process that I use with clients and that I've used on myself too. And it's the basis, like I've learned this through A Course in Miracles. So I've taken what's helped me heal my mind, when I did realize, like, notice that most of my thoughts were negative, and I knew that was affecting how I felt. And so I started to notice, as I was shifting those thoughts, one, becoming more aware, and then understanding the quality of the thoughts, and then changing the thoughts, I realized how much better I felt. And it's just mind training. So it's practice, right? It's like the more you do it, the better it is. If you can do it once or twice a day, it's great. But the more you're catching yourself and tuning in, it will help to change the quality of the thoughts. And that's it's a wonderful way to help feel better.
Indeed, and we have to understand that our mind is also a tool to change ourselves, but also an external source can enhance certain ideas and artificial thoughts for us to change and become more compliant. So I mentioned this because this is a ongoing trend through media and the political arena. So that's why we have to shield our mind from these external negative or undesired sources in order for us to be able to go inside undisturbed.
Absolutely. Like I noticed this. I really limit how much I watch the news because usually sometimes you get the odd time some good news. Most of the time, it's not good news, right? It's negative. It's like you feel it. And as an empath myself, like I feel it so strongly. Like I just, I feel like it's like I can feel everyone's thoughts and like their emotions, right? So deeply. So yeah, I do. You're absolutely right about that. I do limit. I limit what I watch on TV and the movies that I watch, because I know if I watch a horror movie, it's going to sit with me, right? Like even when I was a young girl, and I have 2 older brothers, and when they would watch a horror movie, I would, like, for weeks, I would just be having nightmares, and I would be scared, and I was afraid of the dark and all these, but it's because of what I was watching. So yeah, absolutely. Like it affects us on so many levels. And also the company we keep, right? The company we keep. And that's the importance of being with like-minded individuals. And yeah, it's just so important to some people who raise us up, and positive energy. And it changes, it changes like everything, and how we, how we see the world. It just impacts us in so many ways, because that's what happens with our mind. It's all the imprints, as you mentioned, that stay with us. So
Yes.
those
Yeah,
are
it's a lifestyle we have to implement for our betterment and the quality of life.
for
And
sure.
Monica, I want to ask you,
Yeah.
when you coach, what's the percentage between men and women? Because to me, this is kind of a study which I started several
Yeah.
years ago, and I
Yeah.
want to know if the percentages is similar when in your experience that it is in mine when I attended events and conferences. So please,
Yeah, so definitely more women.
like what did you say, 20/80, 30/70?
Yeah, 2080.
Okay,
2080.
yes. So it's exactly what I experienced.
Yeah.
So I know we are very stubborn. We don't like to look for help and ask for help because we know everything. and we can heal ourselves by drinking a glass of beer and eating a
Yeah.
steak.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? I would love to help more men as well. And it's just that idea of like, even as, boys were younger, right? It's like, yeah, you're not supposed to cry. It's like this whole, like, it's just a lot of these, like a lot of the reasons why some men feel like they have to be like tough and like, macho. And it's like, oh, I don't go to therapy. I can, I can figure this out on my own. Even like, for men who go like I find women are more like tend to go for help and go to therapy, go to counseling, right? Than men are. It's like, oh no, I don't need to speak to somebody about my problems, about my issues. Meanwhile, it feels so much better when we do let it out, right? And we do express our emotions. It's a healthy way to let it out, or write about it. It's writing is therapeutic too. So there's different avenues, but it's just sense of like, oh no, I can figure this out. Like, I don't need help, but that's not true at all. There's no difference, right? We all need help in different.
Exactly. And did
Yeah.
your personal Shiva try to access your gifts?
My personal Shiva. Well, he's on his own journey, so he's a mountain climber. So when he told me that he's one day he just woke up and said, I'm going to climb Kilimanjaro. And I said, okay. And it was like 3 months before. And he said, do you want to join? I said, no, I do not. I know myself and I do not want to join. I mean, good for you. I will support you. Yeah, and as you know, mountains are very spiritual, but he had this calling. He had this calling, and it just came out of complete like nowhere. He just woke up one morning. Well, it obviously came from somewhere, but he wasn't aware of how this, where this seed was planted. And he did all the research and he climbed it. 3 months. He went to Kundalini yoga with me. I was attending Kundalini yoga classes. So he attended with me, and so he was working on his breathing and slowing down the breath. He was doing a lot of research online. So he's on his own journey. I mean, we're all on a spiritual journey, right? Whether we're aware of it or not. And so, we're like, I feel like we're growing and evolving together beautifully, and yet we have our different ways. So of doing that. And the most important thing is that we support each other. He supports my work. And I support his work, and however I can, because we're in this together. We're a married couple, and we want to see each other grow and evolve, and most of all, be happy and peaceful. And we have a type of relationship where we give each other a lot of freedom. We're not controlling at all with each other, right? So if somebody like, so, I mean, at the time, my daughter, my youngest daughter, I believe she was maybe 6 years old when Amit was going to climb this mountain. Like, when he told me he was going to climb this mountain, and then she said to me, Mommy, is Daddy going to come back? And I was like, oh my gosh, because she, someone at school told her that people can die, like people have died, right? When climbing these mountains, it's risky, right? There's a risk
Yes.
there. Right? It does happen. Um, Sometimes it's the elevation, there's so many things. And I said, and I told her, and I said, honey, he's coming back. He's going to be back. And I had this faith, within me, and I knew that I had to let go and let him go. And it was so, beautiful, because he was, and I didn't speak to him for a week because he didn't have any connection. So, but still, like, even though I was here and he's all the way there, I just felt like I was able to sleep peacefully at night. I didn't feel anxious. I was just very calm. It was just a sense of like letting him follow his path. And before he left for the airport, he just embraced me and just said, thank you. Like, thank you for letting me go. Like, we have young kids, and you know, some of his, like other people, like that some of his friends and acquaintances they're not allowed to go. It's like it's like there's a time and place for this. Don't do it now when our kids are young, because what if something happens to you? But in my mind, it's like something can happen at any time, anywhere.
Yes.
So I trust and believe that everything that happens for a reason. And if something did happen, I would have no choice but to accept it because it's the will of God, right? So that's how I live my life. Like I don't live in fear anymore, right? So that's what this whole second book is about, from fear to love. So because I wasn't like that before, I worried a lot. I had a lot of fears, especially like in the beginning of our marriage. And it's something my father-in-law even pointed out. He started giving me all these books and he said, like these will help you. And I said, oh, help me with what? I wasn't even aware that I was worrying, right? Because like I said, unless we're aware and conscious of what's happening, other people can probably see it, and they're witnessing this, but we ourselves don't even know. So when my father-in-law said that to me, I was like surprised. It's like, oh no, I'm good. Like I don't need these books until my journey started, which was after we had two of our daughters. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
So
it's a beautiful statement for what a real marriage should be: understanding, non-controlling, loving, and based on a spiritual relationship.
yeah.
And I would love to see people watching this interview and realizing that they have to change their relationships, because we as a couple are the same. We are very free with each other.
Mhm.
We don't control each other. And we have friends and in our circle which just do the opposite. And there
Mm.
is nothing we can do because they just won't listen. And it's that old saying, if you love something, let it go. And if love is there, it will come back to you.
It'll come back to you. And it comes back a thousandfold, right? Like it comes back so much, like just overwhelming. Like it's just, and it's but like I do understand when, that when people are controlling with others in a relationship, and it doesn't have to be marriage, it can be in a friendship, right? It can be like two friends, two best friends, like don't go, like it could be like, in high school, like, okay, yeah, you're getting close with this other girl, please, like there could be some jealousy, some insecurity. So there's like this controlling nature of like, you have to be with me. But there's a fear there, right? There's a fear, right? And where there's like, it's like when there's fear, there cannot be love, right? So fear is like covering, there's always love, but with the fear, it's covering up the love, right? So it's so until that's healed, until we work on ourselves and change our minds and find that inner love, that source of love that's within us, then there's nothing to fear, really, like not even death, right? The biggest fear of all fears is what? For all of us, is a fear of death, right? It's a
Yes.
fear, and all fears are ultimately linked to the fear of death because it's a fear of some sense of loss. So if it's a friendship, someone might think that they're going to lose a friend. And in marriage, it's the fear of losing your partner. It's like my daughter said to me, is daddy coming back? Right? There's a fear. Like she's thinking that she might lose her dad and that could be the last time she sees him. But the thing is, when you overcome that, that's when life really begins. I feel like that's when you're really living like a fulfilled life and you're living fully and not from a place of fear, but a place of love. And it's just it's a wonderful way. It's a wonderful way to live. And I'm so happy and blessed and thankful that shift, for that shift within me. Because I
Yes.
know how it is to be on the other side.
Thank you
So
for
yeah.
sharing, Monica.
Yeah.
How do you feel the energy of the world of humanity in this period? Do you think that we'll have a big shakeup? We will be well on the other side? What your guides are telling you?
I do think there will be something. I do feel, I mean, there has to be, right? With like you said, like how we said earlier, it's like you turn on the news, right? And you're just, oh, like you just want to turn it off because it's like everything that's happening around the world. And um, it's there's so much fear and so much hatred and crime and violence and war and sadness. There's all these negative emotions, right? And I feel that until we all make that shift, and it's it's like it's individually, but as we heal ourselves, the world heals, right? Because
Yes.
we're all connected, right? So we can only do our part. We can only do, like you, Claudio, can do your part. I can do my part. Our listeners can do their part, right? And hopefully more people will be inspired to do the work on themselves, to shift themselves, but they have to want to do it. And before they, there has to be the awareness that there is a need to do it first. That's the first thing. So again, it's tuning into ourselves and how we feel first. But I feel like this world, we can definitely make this heaven. Like I said, right, with that title of my first book, Taste of Heaven, because that's what I felt, and I feel that it, like, heaven is here and now, and we can make this world can become like heaven, and I do truly believe that it will. And the time is coming, and I feel like the time will be soon.
Thank
There
you
will be
for the
shifts.
encouragement. Thank you. And Monica, how our viewers can reach you other than your website?
Well, that's the best way. I have my email on the website. So it's just my name, monicakapur.com or .ca, and that's Kapur. So that's the best way to reach me. And yeah, I look forward to speaking to all of you
Yes,
one-on-one.
yes, please, we encourage you to reach out to Monica. You saw that she's an amazing, positive, grateful, full of life coach and professional that can help you overcome any challenge you have in your life. So please give her a try. Thank you,
Thank you so much.
Monica, for this wonderful discussion. Thank you.
Thanks.
And to everyone else, thank you for watching this episode. We'll wait for you on to the next one. And until next time, love and gratitude.